Amateur 1994, a film written and directed by Hal Hartley. There is a lot to like about it. By his standards, it is sexy, conventional subject matter. It is almost a straightforward action thriller by his standards, which means it's definitely not actually like a straightforward conventional thriller, but by his art house standards, it is quite sexy subject matter. It involves such conventional stuff as gangsters and people doing criminal activity, so it's definitely a bit more straightforward, conventional, sexy subject matter in comparison to what he usually does. It was quite amusing. There are quite a few good dialogue exchanges. I wouldn't call them so much funny, it's just very, yeah, that's actually just a really, really well written exchange, such as the molestation in the cinema. It also has good actors in it. Isabel Huppert is, of course, very good. I don't think she's ever really given a bad performance in a movie, to the best of my knowledge. She's just one of those naturally gifted, talented actresses who just always delivers a really good performance. And the movie benefits from having her in it. The actors playing the gangsters, chasing after everyone, they are not so strong. You can very much tell they are just repeating lines they have learned rather than interacting with other people. So there's a slight disconnect between them as actors with other people. They're in a world of their own rather than actually listening to what other people are saying and then reacting naturally to them. In the last half hour, once they have escaped Manhattan, I feel the movie dips a wee bit. It's definitely as though the brakes have been applied to the plot and it becomes slightly meandering and a little slow feeling, and it's simply just not as interesting subject matter from that point on. It just feels like it could be shorter and more to the point. I think in previous viewings I actually found it to be quite boring in the last half hour. This viewing I was okay with it, but there is no denying it's not as good as the previous hour. And then the film itself ends on a bit of an anticlimax, which is also a bit too similar to previous Hal Hartley movies. He does have a tendency to end his movies in a very specific way, with the authorities getting involved. I think the more conventional, straightforward gangster subject matter does help the movie. It just makes it slightly more, well, conventional, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, although it definitely remains an oddball, strange little movie. I would give Amateur a very, very generous 7 out of 10. It's definitely above average, but I can't quite bring myself to comfortably call it good. But on balance, it's definitely more good than just above average. So it's a generous 7 out of 10. And certainly, if I was to recommend one Hal Hartley movie to a more mainstream, straightforward audience member who just wants a straightforward movie, I would pick Amateur as the one they should watch. Almost the definitive Hal Hartley movie, in that it has all his preoccupations and style and everything you would expect from him is in this one movie.